Hi everyone, my name is Alicia Salcino. Welcome to my week 4 multimedia discussion for MPA 520 Leadership Series. For this presentation, for the crisis situation, the County of Riverside Emergency Management Department will be the one to analyze how they handle the leadership skills or traits during a disaster natural event, which would be an earthquake situation. So in this situation, we will review what different types of leaderships will come about in each type of scenario. First, for our crisis situation in the 3-minute mark, we would see leadership skills that would include organizational leadership and supportive style. First, for the organization leadership, this is basically a leader where the traits of the leader will come out to be very organized, try to analyze the situation and then just kind of make a paired guide for everyone in the environment, especially in a natural disaster such as an earthquake. There's going to be multiple things happening at once, especially right as an earthquake just finished. People are going to be frantic, scared. Since this is a major earthquake disaster, buildings will be collapsed, so this is going to encourage some of our leaders to be very organized. And then for our first article, we have the role communication. And this is just emphasizing that for an organization leadership trait, the most important thing that is needed is the communication, because you want to make sure that you're able to communicate with the people around you in the surrounding area to effectively have that leadership skill. Next, we have the supportive style. For the person who is a supportive style, after a major disaster scenario as an earthquake, you want the leader to have some type of supportive trait for people surrounding them. You want to make sure, you want to console people, like, are you okay? Do you need any assistance? Like, are you hurt? Next, you want to just console people to maybe if they needed help with other things because it was just an earthquake that just happened. So this is a very important leadership skill that would have happened in the 3rd-minute mark. For the article, we have role supportive leadership as a moderator between job stresses and job performance. And the article is just going to kind of review how it's very great to have a leadership person who has this type of skill to be very supportive, because it's going to be focusing on the well-being of the people around you, and especially in the environment. And you want to make sure that you're able to reduce the stress of people, especially if something in a disaster scenario. You want to calm people down, to have control of the situation. For our 3-hour mark in the situation, the EMD team should have already arrived on scene for the natural disaster of the earthquake, kind of assist the situation and begin to develop a plan of what's going to happen next. From Chapter 3, Leader-Member Exchange Theory. In this theory, it's basically about how the interactions with one another from basically the leader and then the other people below them, which is like the followers, how of an impact does that communication have on the situation itself? They want to see, is the relationship high? Is the relationship low? Is there any effectiveness to that? Is that leader able to convey what's needed to get done? For leader-member exchange, transformational leadership and value system, the article is just focusing on a survey that was conducted to determine if this leader-member exchange theory is it very effective. And it does show that it was, because it's showing that, the more communication that you have as a leader, the more you're able to speak up, to give direction, which is actually needed in this scenario. It's going to be very effective to people to, get to the point, to get to things that need to get done. Next, we have for the charismatic leader, which is actually needed in this type of scenario. Just because, you want to have someone who's very engaged, very friendly with the public, especially in a scenario like this. People are going to be very frantic and scared. But, you want to make sure that you're a charismatic leader who's able to still be with the public, be with the people you're working with, and still be able to conduct in a professional and timely manner. And then for exploring charismatic leadership in the public sector, it's just going on like people are more willing to listen to you since you're very charismatic, you're very understanding, and then by that should help the situation in this 3 hour mark, to get things done efficiently because people will respect you in that type of manner. Next, we have the 3 day mark, and in this scenario for the 3 day mark, it's going to be more stabilized. There's going to be more organizations involved. It's going to consist of people getting the assistance that they need from this major disaster. In that case, you're going to see different types of leadership skills emerge from this. We would have a network leadership theory that would apply to this scenario because in this situation, since there's now going to be more agencies involved just besides the EMD, it's going to take the EMD team to become a leader and to engage with one another. So this could be like through the DPSS, self-sufficiency, the Red Cross, just assisting people because, in this situation from this natural disaster, people are losing their homes, their belongings. Now they're going to need to start from scratch. So this is going to require that type of leadership skill to emerge from the situation. And then for the collaborative governance concept for successful network leadership, it's just conveying in the article that, in order to be a successful leader, you need to have these type of traits. You need to be able to network and to work with other agencies because your agency itself is not the only agency that's going to make this natural disaster work, especially to help the people that are in need. It's going to require more people and collaboration with one another. Next, we have is the ethical leader as a moral manager. So this is just indicating that in this type of situation, now that we're working with more people, things are actually and effectively getting done. There needs to be so now the structure is actually in place. You want to make sure that everything is done effectively and efficiently. And for order for that to be done, you have to make sure that things are being done ethically. So people are currently going through so much right now from this natural disaster. So you want to make sure everything's done correctly. The moral interpreter, a new component of ethical leadership, is just conveying that there are leaders who have already this in their personality. They're already moral themselves. They want to make sure that things are done properly. And even though this could get too personal sometimes, it's a very good trait to have, especially in this type of crisis situation, because you want to make sure that things are done, that there's no corruption, that people are not being scammed out of things. So, you just want to make sure things are done effectively. For our 3 month mark in this crisis situation, this is going to include homes being rebuilt, buildings being rebuilt. Plans already been established, so this is just bringing the community back together, and then just getting everybody settled down. So for this is going to require leadership skills that's going to have an understanding of subculture and diversity. This is very important because you want to make sure that you have a good understanding of what each culture and race requires. You have to make sure that you're meeting everyone's standards, just because people have different beliefs, and you want to make sure that as a leader yourself, especially for the EMD team, that they're incorporating all of these skills and necessities that's needed for each person. In the article Inclusion, Diversity, and Leadership Perspectives, it just gives a kind of goes into depth about describing how everyone's cultures are different, and in order to be a real leader, you need to have some type of experience in order to incorporate all of these inclusions with one another, especially for people who are settling back into their home, their areas. You want to make sure that you're very sensitive to all of their beliefs. Next, we have the competency based leadership approach, which is this is just focusing on the situation, that you have an understanding of what's going on and what's needed in order for to continue. Especially because since everyone's going back home, just trying to settle down into their situation, you want to be able to fully understand things that are actually going on right now, because it's very different from the beginning of the scenario where a natural disaster just happened, a major earthquake just happened. Now we're getting everybody to rehabilitate back into their old practices. An article we have below for value practicing competency based, it just goes into different traits of what people need to be competent and how having those traits does allow people to get educated. These could be used for future training purposes in order to show that if we can continue being competent in the leadership skill, then we're able to, educate people and then promote this idea in the future. And that was another presentation. Thank you guys very much for listening. I hope you guys have a great week.